The train, for its type, is the most powerful vehicle on land. And the engines of Sodor are the power behind the docks, industries and branch lines that make up the world-renowned Northwestern Railway. These are the stories of Sodor. If experience has taught me anything, it's that a business lives or dies by the strength and temperament of its managers. Though they were far from perfect, both Mr. Star and Mr. Zorro were men of character who did what it took to keep their companies afloat. That's why it was such a shock when Basil Corbett became acting controller. Corbett first came to Sodor in 1934, serving under Mr. Star as his financial director. To be fair, he was very good at his job. He always negotiated favourable terms with clients and ensured they paid up on time. However, he was a notorious pinch penny who was often slow to authorise expenses, even on essential matters like salaries and maintenance. In fact, not long after Burke and Blair's infamous inspection, it came to light he had been the one to propose selling off Toby. Needless to say, that didn't endear him to us engines, and his miserly ways meant the staff weren't too fond of him either. How he managed to stay on in spite of this unpopularity is beyond me, just as I am baffled by the fact that he succeeded Mr. Star after he was killed. Phew, I never thought I'd say this, but the war did provide some good in that regard. As the railways were still operating under the jurisdiction of the British government, Corbett had very little input in actually managing us. And when Sodor became a joint railway, a new board of directors was established, one comprised of officials from both the Nor'easters and the Middies. And yes, this did include Corbett, who carried on as financial director, with Mr. Zorro becoming controller. But it was no secret the pair often clashed over the issue of money. Again, I can't fathom how Corbett held on to his position for so long, nor could I understand at the time why Mr. Zorro named him as acting controller after he resigned. In hindsight though, it does make a bit of sense. As I just said, Corbett was only the acting controller, and the board had yet to choose a new one. And when we found out the other potential candidate for the job was Giles Freeman, well, I think James put it best.
Looks like we're stuck between the devil and the deep blue sea.
You're not wrong, James. If Freeman takes over, I'm going to head on over to the mainland.
I reckon the rest of us will be coming with you.
Why? Who's this Freeman fella? He's our public relations officer.
He also used to be a lobbyist for the road transport industry. And since he joined the board, there have been a number of press leaks concerning our business practices. Thanks to those leaks, we've lost several contracts to various bus and lorry companies.
And he's been allowed to stay on the board? Why? Nobody could prove it. And being in public relations means he's good with the press.
And pulling the wool over the public's eyes. Seriously, how can people be so blind to something that's so obvious?
Sometimes things aren't so obvious, James. Take those vans you're pulling. There isn't an obvious explanation behind them, is there?
No, I suppose not.
Well, I'd like to hear it. Why have you got banana vans at a military base? Because the military wanted to avoid a slip-up.
Oh, that's terrible. Brilliant, but terrible. To answer your question, Peter, these were the only ones available. They're not actually carrying bananas. What's so funny?
I just had a thought. If anyone else asks, maybe you could be a little more cagey.
You're right. Maybe I could tell them nothing, that it's top secret or the like.
Perfect. You're a clever one, Jimmy. Alright, I gotta go. See you boys later.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you. Why, James, you crafty mucker.
I'll try my best. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go. See you later.
Later, Jimmy.
Tough break, Gus. Ah, well, I should have known something was going to happen. What with it being my anniversary and all. Is your missus the forgiving type? Only on matters that don't relate to her parents. She always says I try and wheedle out of visiting them.
And I'll bet she's right.
That ain't the point. The point is, they're coming over for dinner. If I'm a moment late getting home, I'm gonna cop it.
How long's a moment anyway?
90 seconds.
Wait, what? Really?
Yeah. Apparently it was a medieval unit of measurement.
Where'd you hear that?
James told me, if you can believe it.
James?
Yeah. I don't know how the engines... Oh no. What? I forgot to raise the bloomin' danger signal. Wait, you mean...
How are you holding up, James?
Well enough, considering. How's my crew?
To be honest, not good. Broken bones, compound fractures, your fireman has a severe concussion, and there's concern your driver may be paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh, cinders and ashes. What did they do to deserve that?
Do yourself a favor, James. Don't ask those kinds of questions. You'll never find a satisfying answer. Good advice, Mickey. Ah, Joey, what have you turned up? We've finished interviewing eyewitnesses. The signalman has admitted he forgot to raise the danger signal. He's facing severe charges of negligence and he'll probably lose his job.
It's a bad situation all round then.
I'm not finished. I also spoke with one of your trucks, James, and he claims you were speeding. How do you respond to that?
Me? Speeding? No, officer, I wasn't. At least, I don't think I was.
You don't think? Why aren't you certain?
Well, I admit I was in a rather good mood, and I wasn't really paying attention.
I see.
Officer, I'm really sorry.
I should hope so. But I shall refrain from passing judgment until our investigation is concluded. At first glance, though, multiple parties appear to be responsible for this accident, including the engine who left those trucks behind. Who was that, by the way? Why is it every time there's always some accident or inconvenience on this island, you're always involved, Henry? Blow it out your smoke box, Douglas. It's not my fault the coupling snapped on my train. Of course not. It's never your fault, is it? You're always the victim. Go smash a brake van, Douglas. Oh, pipe down, you two, and listen up. We have a severe problem. If you mean old square wheels here, Toby, you're right. No, Douglas, I don't. It's James. The investigation into the accident was swift and decisive. As Joey suspected, multiple parties were found to be responsible for it. The workmen at Barrow were reprimanded for not repairing the coupling on the defective truck, which they knew to be in a poor condition. Henry was also disciplined for failing to notice the breakaway when it happened. The signalman was charged with criminal negligence after getting the sack, and James was also found to be at fault after it was determined he had been speeding. While the blame was diffused, the railway was ultimately held accountable, and I'm sorry to say, a huge fine was issued against us. With our finances taking a severe hit, Corbett did what he did best: cut costs. Unfortunately, this meant various passenger and freight services were cancelled, which did little to improve our reputation. During that time, the road transport companies of Sodor cleaned up as they took on the contracts we were unable to do. How many did we get? 3. Only 3 livestock contracts were renewed? Are you serious? I'm afraid so, old chap. The rest were picked up by the roads. Who'd we get? Tidmouth, Farquhar, and Ballyhoo. We're to make a start on them by the end of the week.
You think James will be out of the works before then?
No. You sound real certain about that, Edward. What do you know? Only that they haven't even started repairing James yet. What? He's been at the works for nearly a fortnight now. What's the delay? According to Mickey, the works hasn't received payment for the job. How could that? Don't tell me. Bloody Corbett again. That man is so tight with money, he likely needs a crowbar to open his wallet. Gordon? He's standing right beside me, isn't he? Good evening, engines. Good evening, Gordon. Good evening, sir. How are you? I'm well, thank you. Mr. Corbett, forget about apologies or whatever else you have in mind. Just listen. I understand your frustration. I don't relish the idea of leaving a damaged engine unrepaired, but you must understand the situation with our finances is rather dire, and we need to properly manage what resources we have if we're to survive.
Are you saying you're not going to fix James, sir?
Of course not. I will authorize payment to the works as soon as the financial situation eases up, and I am pursuing initiatives in that regard. Have you made any progress, sir? Well, as some of you may know, the delivery contract with Cunard Liners is coming up for renewal. I am renegotiating its terms with the company. If all goes well, we should get more money for the job. Does it look like it's going well, sir? It's too early to tell, but even if it does pay off, the contracts we have secured will need to tide us over until then. Thomas, Edward and Donald, I'm assigning you 3 to work the livestock trains. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, what about the China clay deliveries? I know we've still got them. Who's going to handle those? Diesel and Peckett will look after them. You all have your assignments for the next few days. See to it they're carried out in a timely and economical manner. Does he think we don't do our jobs that way? Nope, it's no good. Your fuses are fried and need to be replaced. Well, that's just tops. Looks like I won't be pulling any more trucks today. I told you to take it easy, Diesel. Don't exert yourself, I said. But you young'uns think you're indestructible. Thanks for the words of wisdom, Grandad. You got anything on about how to move a train when an engine is down and the other is 2 hours away? Yep, call in the backup. You rang? What the? Sam? You're the backup? What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. I just thought you were still learning the ropes. I've got shunting down pat. I don't have much experience delivering trains over distance, but Toby's given me a lot of advice and I'm confident I can handle it. Good to hear, because that lot over there needs to go to Wellsworth. You think you can get it there? So long as the points are set right, no worries. And you know all about signals, I take it? Yes. Red for stop, green for go. And? Surely you know about backing signals. Backing signals? What are those? It's when the red light on a signal blinks. That means an engine needs to back up all the way to the nearest station. Do those happen often? No, very rare, but it's something to take on board. All right then, thank you for that, Diesel. I'll get going then. Bye. Backing signals, Diesel? Even crook, you're still a devious blighter, aren't you? And proud of it. As much as I would like to blame Diesel for what happened next, I don't think it would be fair of me to do so. In case it wasn't obvious enough, the devious shunter was indeed pulling Sam's coupling. Backing signals have long been used as a joke on Britain's railways, a prank pulled on inexperienced crews and engines. But the unspoken rule about using it is to make the supposed signal borderline outlandish, so that the odds of it happening are extremely small. To that end, Diesel had done the right thing. After all, the chances of a blinking red light at a signal were very unlikely. But it should go without saying, it did happen. Sam set off from the China Clay Pits on time. She maintained a brisk pace along the branch line, carefully observing every signal that she passed. But as she neared Sudri Station, the wind began to pick up. The signal at the station rattled in the breeze, causing the semaphore arm to quiver. This made it seem like the red light was indeed blinking. When Sam noticed this, she braked hard and prepared to reverse. But this sudden reaction caused the trucks to bump into her, and she was knocked off the rails. After reporting this, the station master asked why she had stopped so suddenly. She explained why, and her embarrassment turned to fury after the station master told her she'd been had. And mark my words, she tore into Diesel the next time she saw him. I wish I could say that was the worst that came of the incident, but it wasn't. All trains along the Brendan branch were delayed or cancelled while Sam was being rescued. This only worsened our public image, especially after the exact circumstances surrounding it were leaked to the press. Mr. Corbett! Mr. Corbett! Are you running an unsafe railway? Do your engines enjoy pulling pranks at the expense of safety? How can the public trust this company? One at a time! One at a time! Do you have the necessary qualities to lead? Of course I do! Is it true you've been transferring company funds to Switzerland? What? No! Where'd you get such a ridiculous... Excuse me, Mr. Corbett. Maybe I should... Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the press and the public, I cannot apologize strongly enough for yesterday's incident. Rest assured, those responsible have been disciplined and measures have been taken to avoid future mishaps. Mr. Freeman, this is hardly the first mishap on this railway. The recent accident with number 5, that engine has a name you know, and it is James. And as we have previously stated, that was a culmination of factors with unfortunate consequences. Mr. Freeman, you can't deny this island has a rather poor safety record. Why should people continue using it? Because it is staffed by a lot of dedicated, hard-working men and locomotives who strive above everything else to get the job done. Surely no one on this island can deny that. Are there any more questions? Yes. Mr. Corbett, in light of recent events, do you think your chances of becoming controller have been compromised? No, I don't. And if Mr. Freeman becomes controller, will you stay on the board? No comment. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. If you would like to make your way into the station, we are offering a free morning tea. Do enjoy. Well done, Giles. Nice touch mentioning James by name rather than number. Did you have to look that up? I did. Just as I also looked up an acquaintance from the Inland Revenue Service. He had some very interesting things to say about you. Perhaps you might consider withdrawing from the running as controller. I would, if not for the choice words relayed to me by a certain refreshment lady from the Skarloey Railway. I see. So it really is up to the board. So it would seem. May the best man win. I will. So, gentlemen, Judgment Day has come. What time was the board meeting? Around 1 o'clock. They've likely made a decision by now. So who's our new controller going to be, lads? Our skinflint financial director? Or our sleazy public relations officer? My money's on Freeman. He received a lot of positive press from yesterday's conference. I'd have to agree. Reggie said the passengers left crumbs all over his coaches from that morning tea he threw. If it really is that easy for him to manipulate the public, maybe he should run for Parliament. Aye, he could probably do less damage in the House of Commons. Then again, if he doesn't become our controller, we'll be stuck with Corbett. And after insulting him while he was within earshot, my future on this railway seems grim. I wouldn't worry too much about it, Gordon. Why not, Thomas? Because our new controller ain't Corbett. How do you know? I was at Brendan when the decision was made. I guess that means it's Freeman then. No! Thomas, this isn't the time for jokes. I'm not joking, Toby. Neither got the job. Wait, what? Why not? There was a surprise candidate, and he got it.
A surprise candidate? Who was it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you, so I'll show you. Lads, meet our new controller. None of us could believe our eyes. We were speechless as our jaws hit the ground. Even though we'd heard about his recent troubles, we never thought it would be enough to bring him back to Sodor. While it was a shock to us at the time, I'm sure it'll come as no surprise to you when I say that the man to emerge from Thomas's cab was none other than the Fat Controller himself.